In this video, we're going to talk about sheep. You probably picture them as these simple, gentle animals just munching on grass, right? But underneath all that wool, there's a whole world of surprising complexity. Their story, from their biology to their social lives, is actually way more connected to ours than you might think. So let's get a real look at these incredibly important animals. You know, when you see a big group of sheep like this, the word follower just kind of pops into your head. They all move together, they eat together, they really seem to act like one big organism. But just calling them mindless followers, well, that doesn't even begin to tell the whole story of what's really going on in that group. So what's really interesting is how a group like this actually functions. I mean, is it just a bunch of animals blindly following whoever happens to move first, or is there something more complicated happening here? Something almost like a collective intelligence that's guiding the whole flock. To figure that out, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll kick things off with the absolute basics in Sheep 101. Then we'll walk through their life cycle. After that, we're going to dive deep into the flock's mind, take a look at sheep populations across the globe, and finish up with their biggest friends and enemies. Okay, let's start with the fundamentals. I mean, to really get a handle on their behavior, we've got to know what a sheep is on a biological level first. So, first things first, sheep are mammals, but more specifically, they're what we call ruminants. This just means they have this really specialized digestive system, a stomach with 4 different compartments that's built to break down super tough stuff like grass. They're part of the Bovidae family, which makes them close cousins with goats. And being a ruminant makes them amazing grazers. But they're not just eating randomly, they're actually pretty picky. They have this cool split in their upper lip that they use to carefully pluck the tastiest, most nutritious leaves off a plant. A grown sheep will chow down on about 2 to 4.5 pounds of food every single day. And check out their basic vitals. A healthy sheep usually has a body temperature around 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit and a pulse of about 75 beats per minute. These members are super important for farmers and vets to keep an eye on to make sure the flock is doing okay. Okay, now let's see how all those biological basics play out across their whole life. You know, from the moment they're born to full-on adulthood. A baby sheep, of course, is a lamb. And these little guys are unbelievably independent right from the get-go. They're what's known as precocial, which is just a fancy way of saying they can stand up, walk, and start following their moms within just a few minutes of being born. It's pretty incredible. So a lamb starts out tiny, only about 5 to 8 pounds, but man, do they grow fast. They can hit puberty in as little as 5 months. By the time they're a year old, they're already getting their adult teeth. And on average, a sheep will live somewhere between 6 and 11 years. A female sheep, which is called a ewe, is pregnant for just under 150 days, so about 5 months. The act of giving birth is actually called lambing, and they'll typically have 1 or maybe 2 lambs every year. Alright, now we get to the really fascinating stuff. How do they act as a group? We've talked biology, but their social dynamics, this is where things get wild. So, who calls the shots? Is there like one dominant alpha sheep that makes all the decisions for everybody else? Well, the answer is way more interesting than that. It's fluid. Yeah, researchers like Fernanda Pruani have figured out that sheep operate with a kind of collective brain. See, there's no single permanent leader. Instead, the entire flock just gives total control to whoever happens to be the leader at that moment, and that role can change in a split second. Here's how it works. At any random moment, one sheep decides to move. The second it does, it becomes the temporary leader, and boom, the whole flock follows, no questions asked. This system lets them move as one, super fast, and because the leader is always changing, the group can basically share information and adapt to things on the fly. So the bottom line is, this whole social structure, it works. It works really well. So well, in fact, the domesticated sheep are now a global thing, raised in pretty much every corner of the planet. And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, let's look at China. They have the largest sheep population in the world, a mind-boggling 194 million sheep. They're also the world's #1 producer of wool. Right behind China, you've got India with the second largest flock, over 75 million. And Australia comes in at #3 with just over 70 million. These numbers really drive home just how important sheep are to agriculture all over the world. Now, with that many sheep around the globe, you can bet they face a lot of threats. But they also have some very important allies that help keep them safe. On the protector side, you got people, farmers and vets who take care of them, and of course, dogs. You have livestock guardian dogs that actually live with the flock to defend it, and then you have working dogs like kelpies that help herd and manage them. Their main predators are animals like coyotes and wild dogs, but some of their biggest threats are the ones you can't even see. These invisible enemies are a huge deal and require constant watchfulness. You've got parasites like the barber's pole worm, which can be deadly. There are bacteria like MOV, which can be absolutely devastating if they spread to wild sheep. And then there are major diseases like foot and mouth, which is a constant worry for the entire industry. All right, to wrap things up, here are 5 surprising facts for you. Number 1, remember that split upper lip? Well, get this. They don't have any upper front teeth either, just a hard little pad for grazing. Number 2, and this is wild, modern domesticated sheep actually have smaller brains than their wild ancestors. 3, the official term for breeding sheep is tupping. And finally, a fact that just shows how deep our connection goes, sheep were one of the very first animals to be domesticated, way back around 10,000 BC. So the next time you see a flock of sheep, maybe you won't just see a bunch of followers. Maybe you'll see a dynamic, self-organizing system in action, an ancient species that has thrived for thousands of years, not just on instinct, but through this amazing form of collective intelligence, and became a cornerstone of our civilization along the way. Kind of makes you wonder what other kinds of intelligence we're overlooking all around us. Alrighty, that is it for this video, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.